I just got finished watching this fight between Shakur Stevenson and Felix Caraballo. This was Stevenson's first fight at 130 pounds, which is super featherweight. He was previously a WBO world champion at the weight division below featherweight. Now, Stevenson has been one of the most highly touted prospects in certainly American boxing, but you could say world boxing as well, for a couple years. Obviously, he medaled at the Olympics. And early on in his career, to me, he looked like a little boy physically. He still looked the same guy that was in the amateurs. But over the past, I want to say year and a half, he's begun to physically mature. He's filling out a bit. He's getting more of that man strength and getting more punching power. And now he's actually he's starting to look, a bit more impressive and a bit more of a force in my eyes. Now, you could always see the technical ability that Shakur Stevenson had. But when it comes to boxing, yes, technical ability is very important. But at the same time, you need a certain amount of physical strength and just physicality in general to be able to compete at the highest level. Okay? And Shakur Stevenson's now getting that, filling out, looking more like a man physically than he did before. He was more of a boy. So that's one of the first things which struck me about this performance against Caraballo, is he looks stronger than he did earlier on in his career. He's still got that technical ability. He's a sharp shooter. Caraballo, a very rudimentary pressure fighter, didn't really offer much of a puzzle to solve. So it was basically him walking forward and Stevenson throwing a steady stream of accurate, hard, punishing shots, mainly to the head, but also to the body. Stevenson likes to throw reverse 1-2s a lot. And I'm seeing a lot more fighters are actually doing that now, because it's generally not what fighters experience against other opponents or in the gym. It's kind of something which surprises them and catches them off guard a little bit. So to explain a bit further for those of you who haven't heard this term used before, reverse 1-2, basically in boxing, you normally use your lead hand first to set up your backhand. So if you're right-handed, you stand with your left foot forward with your left hand out, you throw a jab first or a hook, and then you follow through with a right hand. Whereas a reverse 1-2, a 1-2 being a left jab and then a right hand for an orthodox fighter. A reverse 1-2 would be the right hand first, and then you throw either a hook or a jab with your left. Shakur Stevenson being a southpaw, you would normally lead with your right. So you throw your right hand first, then you follow up with your power hand, which is the left. Whereas he was throwing the reverse, left power hand first, then the right. Okay, so he was throwing straight lefts, then hooks. He was doing that a lot throughout the fight. So yeah, nice little variation on a traditional 1-2 there from Shakur Stevenson. And this is the kind of fighter in Caraballo, God, I'm butchering his name. Is it Caraballo? Caraballo, excuse me. He's the kind of fighter where you can experiment and try different things out on. Now, I'm sure Stevenson has used the reverse 1-2 in a lot of fights, but if you do want to try new things, which you've maybe been experimenting on in a gym, this is the kind of opponent to do it against. Somebody rudimentary, who's not that quick, not that, dangerous relative to your level of talent. And yeah, Shakur Stevenson looked good. He dropped the guy, I think, was it in the first or second round? And then he dropped him again in the sixth round when the fight ended with body shots, real good body shots. So he worked him over, basically. That's what Shakur Stevenson did to Caraballo. He worked him over, outclassed him, was too fast, too good technically, too athletic, just had too much of everything for him on the inside, on the outside. I think Caraballo maybe got through with 1 or 2 shots in the fight, but for the most part, Stevenson just totally outclassed him, outfought him, and it was what it was. So yeah, nice little comeback. And I say comeback because of the hiatus that boxing has obviously had. So a nice little return to action for Shakur Stevenson. He says he wants to stay active. Apparently ESPN are looking to put on fairly regular shows with, without the crowd, etc. So yeah, let's see if Shakur Stevenson can get some momentum behind him and then maybe challenge for a world title at 130 pounds in the not too distant future. The super featherweight division. There's plenty of other fighters out there, so let's see what happens. Now, during the fight, the commentators were talking about Shakur Stevenson maybe moving up through the weight divisions and eventually, perhaps towards the end of his career at 147. Yeah, that'll probably happen, but whether he's going to be successful as he moves up that high, to 147 is another matter. It's difficult to say at this stage because he's still filling out, and he is, even though he's filling out, he's still a little gangly. So I'm not sure how far he can go up. 147, would that be too far? Or will he still, be effective at that kind of weight against the bigger man? I don't know. I guess we'll wait and find out. What is Shakur Stevenson's chin like? What is his heart like? Because the more you move up in weight and you have less physical advantages of your opponents, that's when certainly punch resistance is going to come into play more. And at some stage, the heart has to come into play. So those are questions that will need to be answered for Shakur Stevenson, especially as he moves up in weight. Not just as he moves up in class and starts fighting better world champions, etc., but when he moves up in weight and has to deal with bigger men. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Shakur Stevenson's performance against Caraballo. I'm merely butchering that name again, people. Obviously, I want to say Caraballo because that's how it's pronounced phonetically in English. But yeah, in Spanish, Caraballo, I believe it is. So let me know what you guys thought about his performance. How good do you think Shakur Stevenson is? I know a lot of people have been comparing Stevenson and Haney, and they say, well, Stevenson is the better talent because they saw some video footage of them sparring when they were much younger, as teenagers. I think when they were both like 16, 17. And Stevenson was outboxing Devin Haney for the most part in that sparring footage. Yeah, but I really wouldn't read too much into sparring footage, particularly when they're teenagers. If it was a situation where they sparred a year or two ago and they're going to fight now, then you could read more into the sparring footage. And perhaps if Shakur Stevenson had knocked Haney out cold, you might be able to read a bit more into it because there could be psychological demons there for Haney. But sparring footage when they were both like very young teenagers, I wouldn't read too much into that. Haney's a naturally bigger guy. Is he more talented than Shakur Stevenson? I think Stevenson is better coordinated and what have you than Haney. But Haney is, as I say, naturally bigger. And if the two were to fight somewhere down the line, I don't think it's as straightforward as just saying, well, Shakur Stevenson's the better coordinated and faster of the two, so he wins. Haney's the naturally bigger guy. Maybe he can take a better shot. Maybe he hits harder. Maybe he, if they fight, will have learned to use his advantages and, reach, etc. And I'm assuming he's got a longer reach than Shakur Stevenson. It certainly looked like it when they sparred. And in the ring, Haney just looks like a more rangy fighter. So I'm not sure about the reach or the arm length. But yeah, that's a conversation and a fight for the future. But for this particular fight, Stevenson, Caraballo, let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.